All right. Hello, this is Edward Earl, CEO of Growth Team, here with Rasmussen Ironworks and Solaire Grill at the HPBA show, and I am here with Jim Cattey.
Edward, good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thanks for being on the show. Jim, give me an idea, the name of the company, what is it that you guys do specifically, and then tell me some history.
Company name is Smoke and Fire. We do barbecue and fireplace equipment. We are 12 years old, just had our 12th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our goal is really client listening. What are the needs? Why are you here? You know,
Right.
A lot of people come in, I want this. Okay, well, why do you want that? What are your goals? And what we find out oftentimes is they have a perception that's not fact-based.
Right.
And so our goal is to try and work through that, figure out what their needs really are, and then fine-tune, come down to the point, and then when they walk out the door, they're going, oh my gosh, I got exactly what I really wanted. They didn't try to just sell me what I thought I wanted, and boom, it creates that long-term dynamic relationship.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I think there's a misconception in the consumer marketplace that when you go to a specialty retailer, that's where you get the big used car
Right.
pressure sales pitch, because they've got things that they've paid too much for that they want to unload off
Right.
the showroom. It's going to be very expensive, but that's not remotely the case with you guys.
Well, and unfortunately, that experience is real. So it's not
Right.
a unreal scenario that they come in with that preconception. But you get the right person, you get the right company. That isn't what it should be.
Right.
And with us, that's not what it is.
Yeah, you
So,
seem very solutions-based. People come in,
Absolutely.
and like you said, whether they have an idea or they don't have an idea, there's a needs analysis, I think,
Right.
in the corporate world, that's what we call it, that you guys go through.
Absolutely.
Well, where does that approach come from? Because that's not typical. And I mean that because
No.
it's in dealing with 72,000 industries and organizations, around the world, in my business of every kind, you would think that that would be standard to be solution-oriented and
Right.
needs analysis and customer-centric, but those are buzzwords that people don't really put into place, and you guys seem to do it.
Well, I don't know that we use the buzzwords. It just became a reality decades ago. We came out of an ag-based industry
Okay.
and had the fortune of being trained very well. And so a lot of that has just evolved over the years and turned into what it is today. But it was something that if you treat people the way you want to be treated, and that was kind of how we entered, I guess, into the business world, was we were getting the slam dunk. You know, it wasn't that needs-based scenario. It wasn't asking or listening. It was just, oh, well, you need this. And you're kind of sitting there going, well, no, I really don't.
Right.
You know, but a lot of people get confused, and they may not have the knowledge to understand that. And not that we're smarter, but it's just we've been trained. We have all the certificates. We've gone down the road of having the experience. And it's like, well, that's how I want to be treated. So if I want to be treated, why would I treat you any different? Why would I try to sell you something that isn't what you need? Because it's not going to be good for us in the long-term reality.
It really is the golden rule when
Absolutely.
it's all said and done.
Absolutely.
And do you find that a lot of times in an industry like this that's so hyper-competitive, because I've seen everything business-wise, and there's a lot of competitive industries, but this industry is hyper-competitive. You can't innovate a product within 18 months somebody knocking it off,
Right.
and then all of a sudden everybody's knocking
Right.
it off. They look to guys like Rasmussen's and other people, and
Absolutely.
you'll be at one show, they'll introduce new product, and by the next show,
Sure.
there'll be 15 other guys with the same thing, or attempted same thing.
But it's that innovative edge. It is that attention to detail. It's the focus on customer service. Rasmussen provides us that service. And it's that type of a thing that separates, and that's what, as a dealer, we look for, so that when I'm telling that client that, I've got the confidence that I've got that backup behind me, and that we're not going to have those headaches after the fact, or if we run into an issue, it gets resolved.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I think a lot of times people will walk in to, say, a big box store like a Lowe's or a Home Depot and think, I can buy this product, put it in there, and be done with it. It shouldn't
Right.
be a big deal. And the interesting thing is that that's true, but it's not true there.
No.
It's true here.
Right, exactly. Well, and it is that misperception. They've been on the internet, they thought they understood what they were buying. They go, oh my gosh, there can't be any difference. You know, I'm saving X huge dollars here, so I'll buy the cheaper one.
It looks
And then-
aesthetically the same, but it's
and
not
the
the same.
marketing on the box was
Sure.
presented the same. And so they walk out going, I just saved myself a ton of money. But then they get home, and then the horrors of the poor design, the poor quality, all the issues that we in the industry understand happen. It's just all of a sudden they're in our shop, you know, and they go, no, I wouldn't do that product. And you're going, well, let me guess, you went to a box store and you've already owned one.
Own one.
And they're going, well, yeah, how'd you know? Well, because of what you just told me. Let me explain some things. And then you put that information in front of them, they're kind of sitting there going, really? I had no idea. You know, or, oh, that makes sense. Now I understand why I had that issue. And it's like, exactly, and we don't do that. That's
right.
The reason we have these separate products. And it's a real world scenario. You pay for what you get. It's not a demand thing where you're just expecting a higher money profit because,
right.
But you're buying value, you're buying quality, you're buying the support, you're buying happiness in a way. And so it works better that way.
You know, it's interesting because in this industry, one of the things that I found is that we are really not making decisions, I think most people, based on all of the dynamics. It's that iceberg where you see a little bit,
sure.
But the mass of it is underneath the water.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing. You may see a gorgeous fireplace set, a grill set, anything like that, but it's all of the other things that you don't know what to ask about.
Right.
And that the guys in another place not only are not selling that quality, but they don't even know how to service. They don't understand the product.
Right.
They've never cooked on the product.
No.
They don't have any idea. And I was making a comment to one of the others that carry the Solaire line of grills, and I said, it's funny how even something as simple as, I don't know how to get this chicken quite right.
Right.
And you can talk to people like
Absolutely.
you because you know those things.
That's right. I didn't get this figure by not eating well. So we're going to do this chicken the right way the first time. That's exactly correct.
And you figure that out after you've gone through about $200 worth of meat. And
that's an expensive learning curve.
It really is.
Especially when the meat was hideous and you're sitting there going, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
You know, and you're going, I think I did what I was supposed to do. So no, our mission is simple. It's keeping you warm and well fed. And we figure you found love, so we're at about 80-90% satisfaction in the world at that point. So it's a simple reality that we have.
Well, you know, you look at this industry, and here at the show, there's so many competitors. You've got the innovators like Rasmussen and a few others. Then you've got the kind of American knockoffs of that, people kind of chasing these guys. And then you've got that Asian contingent, which is a knockoff, but not even a knockoff.
No.
It's a poor replication when it's all said and done. And all these people are clamoring for companies like you to carry their products. Why do you end up here?
Same things that we try to do, we found. And so it's not hard when you walk into a booth to discern where that is. The first rep that introduced us to Rasmussen, we had a long-standing reputation of quality and consistency and good products. And so it's just, okay, tell me a little more. And all of a sudden things start lining up. And it's just, you get that ear for quality after a while, and it's something that you can pay a little more, but you don't have to turn around and replace it or fight it or throw it away and start over again. And most times people are in a much better place when that occurs.
Yeah, it seems to be with organizations like yours that align themselves with Rasmussen that really starts to see the innovation, the attention to details, the customer centricity when it comes to even designing the product through manufacturing, to the relationship, the communication, all the way through your guys's, which extends that exact same mentality right down to the customers, which is what they want.
And it's critical. If you don't have it, it doesn't work. And that's the point you're bringing up.
Yeah, and it expedites, if there ever is an issue, it really does expedite the
ability is huge. Absolutely. The
service. Look at the service aspect. You've got guys that do service, but your guys' certifications, I mean, you really take that to a serious level.
Correct.
What's the difference between that and working with people that maybe don't have those kinds of certifications?
Well, we are NFI certified, and when you have that, you've been trained, you've been given the background, you've been given the science behind it. And so it's not just an opinion that someone's pulling out. And you go to a house where somebody that hasn't had that training was working on something, and they kind of threw their hands up in the air and abandoned the project because they couldn't do the repair, or they didn't have an item that was repairable. They had no support, so they just ran into a brick wall, and that was the end of it. And that's the thing that, as a dealer, we separate all that out, so it's the wheat from the chaff. And the chaff's laying over there, and most times in the box store, and the wheat's over here, and it's that story of value, but you do get that. And that's the part that is just, it's a simple thing. If I wouldn't own it, then why am I trying to sell it to you?
Yeah, that is, you know, it's a great point you bring up, because you look at other places that people can buy not similar product, obviously, but knockoff product, things like that, and the question I know that I've always asked, I remember going in one time and looking at a particular type of vehicle, and I just asked the guy, do you own this car? He goes, no. I said, well, which of the sales guys actually owns this vehicle? and there wasn't one of them that
Not
did.
one.
And so I said, you know what, let me talk to the mechanics.
Yeah?
And I went down and I talked to the mechanics, and I said, okay, of all these models, what would you end up buying, and what do you see most? And that was an interesting experience. But you know what? Nobody actually thinks about stuff like that.
They don't.
You got to talk to the guys that actually deal with this stuff every day. And then I remember one experience, which is really a similar circumstance, in that I was looking at a house one time that a guy was building, and as I was poking around a little bit, I saw in the basement a closet. I opened up the door, and there were all these do-it-yourself books for tile, right? And I thought to myself, son of a gun, this guy's not a carpenter.
This is a nightmare ready to happen.
This is a guy that has gone to Home Depot and thought, hey, if I buy some tools, I'm handy.
That's right.
That's not the guy you want to be dealing with in this industry.
No, not at all. When you're playing with fire, that's probably not a good place to start.
Yeah, true enough, not a good place to start. Someone asks you, a friend, East Coast, West Coast, says, you know what, Jim, I'm looking to buy some of these products. I don't completely know, but I'm going to be walking in stores today.
Right.
How do I know if I'm in the right place? What do you tell them?
Well, a lot of it is listen. We'll have our clients come in, and you go through the presentation, you ask the questions, and we'll sit there and we go, by the way, you were someplace else today, yeah? Did anybody ask you these questions? No? I said, okay, the next store you go in, I want you to walk in like the wind-driven snow that you came in today to me, and I want you to listen and hear whether that person cares. Are they paying attention to you, or are they just more interested in getting the dollars from your wallet to theirs and you out the door, and then we'll worry about whatever happens later? And it's unbelievable how many clients come back and they go, you know what? We went to 2 other stores, and it was exactly what you said, and we're here, we get it, thank you very much. And so that's always a good baseline. And to your analogy in the car dealership, what if? What are the options? Do you? All of those questions, and all of a sudden you can kind of start to get that feel, or you can gauge, are they real, are they sincere, or I've got, and you kind of figure it out pretty quick. But it's a simple enough process. It's just something that unfortunately doesn't happen a lot in this century and in the world today. Right.
We really, the hyper-competitiveness and expansion of businesses, you can't grow experts as fast as businesses and industries grow. It's not physically possible. You can't grow leadership. You can't grow innovation thought. You can't grow management technique. You can't. And I remember this industry, in your guys' circumstance, was very much like the first time I bought a piano. I walked into the store and I thought, I'll go to a Baldwin store, Steinway store, Kawai store, and I sat down and talked to the guy, and I thought he's going to give me features and advantages and benefits. But the reality is he sat down and started playing this thing.
Right.
He played seriously composed music. He played Billy Joel and Elton John, and I thought, wow, this guy really, really knows what this thing will do.
Right.
And I think people, they're not used to that in other types of things. And most of technology has gotten to the point where we don't worry about the service when we buy a Toyota or a Honda. We're not concerned about that because it's just get an oil change and be done with it. We're not worried about it when we get a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone as much.
Well,
but this isn't that way.
It isn't, and so much of today's world is a throwaway world.
Right.
And even with the Mac, the technology is gone, if you will, within 5 years. Well,
I upgrade the phone every year.
That's right. You're not going to be keeping that old piece of hardware because it won't run the new. So it becomes this mindset. But with Rasmussen, you're selling a lifetime quality log. You're selling a grill that's rebuildable, that's serviceable. You've got the ability to maintain that investment. Now, maybe you want a new one. Great, let us sell you a new one. But if you're happy with the one you got, it doesn't have to go away because it's become obsolescent and it's a piece of junk now.
Yeah, so we've got actually 3 in the house of the Rasmussen grills, down to the Everywhere, which we take this thing on the boat. We bring it out for picnics, and who would have thought that you can bring an infrared grill on a picnic? It's just mind-blowing.
Right. But once you do, would you ever take another one? Not.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going back to that Smoky Joe for $30 from Walmart. That's for darn sure. And people will get blown away when you're cooking. We've got one on the deck and then one downstairs in the downstairs kitchen. And then you're right, it's phenomenal. You wouldn't go back, and it's hard for people to realize sometimes when they're looking at the misinformation out there where this stuff really is, because there's so much to look at.
And that's the key, is just make an informed decision, find people you have a confidence about that have had the history, and you're probably going to be in a better reality.
Success leaves clues, and you guys have been successful what you do. To be successful as a retailer in this industry, what are your What are your tips?
Pay attention. It's simple enough. You know, the KISS approach is always, it seems to the point of stupidity,
right.
And it is when you do the sounding out of the acronym, but it has that old tried and true. It's the golden rule. It's the be real. It's the be honest. And so if you don't have that, it's hard to make that come out. Right. And that's the point of, back to your earlier question of what do you listen for when you go somewhere? Well, it becomes fairly self-evident. And I guess that would be the best advice that I could offer to anybody.
It seems in your guys' industry, as I interview the CEOs that are successful at what they do and the ones that have the great relationships with the manufacturers and the great relationships with their customers,
right.
You don't have to show them techniques on how to service people well.
No.
They don't. They just know it. And
right.
It's like I talk about in business. I've watched the management companies come in and look at someone like yourself and say, okay, how does Jim do this? Let's put this on a database. Let's get this on a spreadsheet, and that way we can teach it to the world.
Right.
It's hard to teach honesty and integrity.
If you don't have those core values, it isn't going to happen.
That's what you grow up with.
Right, exactly.
You grow up with that kind of mentality, and that's why this stuff that goes into your family's home is family-oriented type businesses,
yes.
Coming from family-oriented type manufacturers, and that
right.
thread seems to come throughout. And I don't think that you can technique that or management train that into people.
You can't. You can hit what appear to be the highlights of it.
Sure.
But it shows through. It's back to that reality. It's just, wait a minute, this is a copy. Your analogy of, another American-made company copies what you got, or then you get the offshore knockoff, and it's hard to get the details out of a photograph, but yet that's what they've got is the photograph that looks, but there's no soul behind it. It just doesn't exist.
And it really is true, and I tell guys all the time, it's kind of like my guitar playing. I can pick up a guitar and I start playing a song, and people will gather around and think, this guy can really play. No, I just know how to play those songs.
There you go.
When it's all said and done, I don't know that instrument that well, and it does show through. And I think sometimes when the consumers have the right kinds of questions to ask, it's very easy to see that the people they're dealing with may play one or two songs, but they don't know that instrument, and they need to know it.
That's a good analogy. That's right.
So, Jim, thanks for being on the show.
I really appreciate your time.
Guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.